Hello, everyone. Neil Sheth here, and welcome to How Do You Make Money, where I interview entrepreneurs and talk about how they make money by breaking down their product, marketing, and sales strategy. And today I'm super excited because I'm going to be talking with Xan Hong, who is a serial entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience with launching and running drop shipping sites. So we're going to get into some amazing stuff. Now, while Xan speaks and shares his wisdom with us, I'm going to be putting together a diagram on the side where I start to map out how Xan actually makes money. So for those watching the interview and wondering why I'm looking to the right of my screen, right of the video, or left from where you're looking, that's why. And I'll be turning the interview around and we'll be showing this slide just to summarize it and make sure we've got it right for all those watching. So Xan, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for inviting me. Happy to do this.
So let's start here, because I know you've got a number of businesses, but let's talk about drop shipping. How did you explain what drop shipping is, and how did you get into it? And give us a sense of how much you make from it as well.
Yeah, so I got into drop shipping about 15 years ago, and so if I remember correctly, it was. Well, first of all, drop shipping is kind of a unique business model. So drop shipping is a business model where it's typically through e-commerce, and so I don't hold any inventory. And so what happens is I have a supplier. When I get an order in, I at that point then take the money that I got from the customer and then order that product. And then that vendor of mine then ships that product directly to my customer. So I never have to take any inventory. So it's really a great business model to start without a lot of capital requirements up front. And so where I learned about it was I got this, I must be on some entrepreneurial sucker list, because I got this direct mail of this product called Stores Online, which is, I don't even know if they're viable anymore, but it was this really rudimentary e-commerce. This was pre-Shopify days. It was really a very rudimentary online e-commerce platform. And so they did a dinner, and I took the whole package came with a course and access to the platform. And so the first one I did, after kind of walking through their process, is I actually started a site on selling custom golf bags. So I had a supplier out of Hong Kong, and they created these custom golf bags. People would upload their logo, and then they would ship them directly to the customer. And I think I did about $60,000 in sales that first year with that. And I was like, holy crap, this works. So yeah, so that was kind of how I got into it.
That's awesome. Okay, so how many sites do you currently run? Drop shipping sites?
Right now, I've got 2 that are mine, and I've got 2 people that have kind of asked me to help them, and we've got kind of a profit share agreement with them that I'm going to help them get launched and help them do it, and they'll do some sort of profit share. But yeah, it's something I've just helped a couple of people out.
Okay, and can you share like roughly how much you make from that?
Yeah, so one's fairly new, but the one I've had the longest is probably on pace to do about 300K this year.
Really?
In yeah.
Wow, insane. And that's $300K.
Correct. Yeah, US dollars.
Okay, and that's essentially someone's found your product. You don't even own it, but they've basically found the website. They've bought the product. You get the order goes straight to the supplier ships it to the customer. You're not involved.
That's correct. Yep. And even better is I have a virtual assistant that handles all of that for me, so I don't have to do any of that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's the real Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week.
Yeah, it's a combination of virtual assistant and using a lot of automation tools as well. So it's just one person that's basically handling 300K worth of revenue. So
full time.
Yep.
Wow, that's insane. How do you get customers to that drop shipping site?
Yeah, so the majority of our, if I look at analytics, it's probably in the neighborhood about 70% comes from organic search. Probably another, depending on the month, another 10 to 15% comes from affiliates. I use 2 affiliate networks, and right now I have probably a total of 400 affiliates that are marketing my product, and I give them a percentage of the sale. And a little bit comes from paid search, I don't spend a ton on paid search. In the beginning when I launched, I spent all of it came from paid search. Maybe a small percentage comes from paid social, and then some email marketing as well. But the overwhelming majority is coming from organic right now.
That's incredible. Okay, so yeah, I'm interested in the affiliate network. We'll come back to that in a sec, but there's going to be people watching this going, holy crap, Xan, I want to own a drop shipping e-commerce site. And drop shipping's been around for years. I remember when I first joined the internet, I looked into it. I don't think my brain's always worked in the service business. As soon as it's service, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm good at the phones. I understand communication, customer service, how to message on email. When I first started, never really like picked up ecom until a couple of years later. But there's going to be people watching this and going, I would love to look into drop shipping. So it's I get the feeling that drop shipping's still alive.
Yeah.
And how do people go about choosing a product? Where do you start?
Yeah.
Or
So
does it come to you?
It's a little bit of science and a little bit of art, right? So I would say, and I'll share with you my process. I think there's other ways to get this done, but let me explain this. My strength personally has always been with paid search, Google ads and Bing ads, right? That's been mine. And so when I describe my process, it's really along the lines of playing to my strengths. And right. So really the way I usually do this, kind of high level, is I'll launch a site, I'll go heavy on paid search. It allows me to figure out where the highest converting key terms are. And then I'll invest in SEO to obviously increase my profitability on that. Usually I'm not profitable until the SEO kicks in, just generally speaking. In addition, I'll also test out Facebook ads, and I'll always do Facebook retargeting. So knowing that that's kind of my process and that's what's worked for me, when I pick a product, so number one is I'm always looking for things. And so as an entrepreneur, my mindset has always been solve problems, right? And so a lot of my inspiration comes from when I can't find something I'm looking for, I'll go and search to see, does it exist? And then if I can find a supplier, then that's kind of an aha moment. But outside of that, knowing that search is such an important part of my success, before I pick any product, before I launch anything, I'll always do the keyword research first, right? And so I'll get a sense of, okay, is there enough volume to make this worth my time? How competitive is it? From the standpoint of how expensive are the keywords, and then also, how hard will it be to rank for those keywords? And so you're looking for what I always call the Goldilocks niche, right? So something that's not so huge that everyone's going after it, but it needs to be big enough that it's worth your time. But you want it narrow enough where there's not a lot of competition in it. And so I'm always looking for that sweet spot of, okay, decent volume, but not so much competition. So that's what's really worked well for me. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. Is there a particular price of product minimum that it needs to be? Because obviously, if you're trying to spend on ads, actually, you said this, didn't you? You said, I'm not looking for that to be profitable, but I'm just looking for what terms are going to drive the sales so that you can focus on those keywords organically. Yeah, is there like a minimum price? Because I'm guessing a £20, $20 product, you're going to struggle to make money back, aren't you?
Yeah, usually from a paid perspective, I can tell you, kind of the formula I run through in my head is a paid product typical customer acquisition cost or CAC is in the neighborhood of anywhere from 10 on the low side. Well, I've had instances where it's been under $10. On the very low side, I've had around 5. On the higher end, it's usually been around $15 to $25, right? And then in addition to that, my kind of baseline conversion rate is about 2%, right? So if I look at what the clicks are, right? Let's say it's 50 cents, right? And so if I use a 2% conversion rate, doing the math, that's going to be approximately a $25 customer acquisition cost, right? So I know I've got $25 to play with. So I need to know between what I can buy the product and what I can sell the product for, plus my other expenses, is there enough kind of spread in there for me to make my money? And if the answer is no, then I usually pass on that product. And so most of my work's done ahead of time. And that's why, most of the sites I put up end up have some level of success.
Okay, that's really clever. And then, so you're backwards engineering. You're going,
Correct.
I know my customer acquisition cost is going to end up being $25 because
Yeah.
I know how much I'm paying for each click. I know my conversion rate. I know it's going to end up being 25, 35, 30, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
That's why, like, you could sell $100 product, but ultimately, if your profit margin is $20, then you're losing $5 if your customer
Correct.
acquisition is $25. Okay,
Correct.
so that makes sense. What does that mean in terms of minimum viable website? Like, if you're testing this, do you
Yeah.
do you just test it with one landing page with copy, product, and then you're just so let's say you've found your Goldilocks niche. I've never heard that term before, but that's cool. I'm going to copy that. So let's say you found your Goldilocks niche. Do you, rather than going straight into this like e-com website using Shopify or whatever, do you just create a landing page and then test that?
No, I get a Shopify site. Shopify is like $29 a month. I have a kind of a partner account, so I can get a site up. And I've launched an e-com site with like 5 products up. Sometimes, like, other people I know, like, oh, I gotta put 60, 100 products on there. I've launched with like 5 products and just marketed those and gotten sales. So I'll get the site up in like a week. And so a lot of times I'll just take literally the product description from the vendor, and I'll put that on there, and then maybe I'll put a little copy and some stock photos on there. And so that's been enough to test out. And again, I might not be profitable right away, but it's I typically know if I get sales, and the ones that have worked, I've gotten sales fairly quickly, and the ones that I haven't, it's been crickets. So I usually can tell in the first couple of weeks whether it's got some traction or some legs or not.
Yeah, I really like this because this is actually quite relevant for us because we're in the middle of launching a side project. So we have a team of copywriters and content creators, and so we're launching our own side project. And it's an editorial. It'll be an editorial magazine. The aim is to drive traffic in a particular niche towards content, and then introduce them to a service or a product. We don't actually know. We're not doing what you're doing in the sense that you've gone product and service first, which is probably more smarter. We're going, let's build the audience first, and then test the product, test the service on the audience as we grow it. So our aim is to grow the audience to something like 30, 40, 50,000 unique visits a month.
Okay.
There'll be keywords which are, buyer intent keywords where they're looking for something. There's going to be keywords which are more awareness driven keywords. And then what we're going to do is we're going to subtly, when we're ready and we've got the traffic, we're going to subtly introduce a product. And that might look in the form of driving an email list and then introducing to the email list there, or it might be on the side of the site or within the content itself, or so we still need to think about that. But ultimately what we want to do is get to the point where we've got the audience and we go, let us try this. So I like this idea actually, where we just rough and ready, we don't need to overthink it, and just have something just to show them, looking at the keywords. I like this approach actually, and we might need to think about this and just go, let's put a landing page within the editorial. You may be using Shopify, maybe it's a digital product or not, or a physical product, and then just seeing what the traffic does. And if it doesn't convert, like you're kind of saying, just drop it, go to the next one, and just testing, because we're going quite broad. So I think we might be doing something like this. It's not going to be drop shipping per se. It's going to be offering it directly. But a lot of what you're talking about, the concept is still relevant.
I agree. I mean, I think you switch out the widget, but at the end of the day, I do think it is similar. Yeah, no, and I've used it. We could chat about later, but I have a tech startup right now. I use a similar process where I use the landing page. I use Facebook ads. Facebook ads is actually what did it for me, and I had probably like a $4 to $7 customer acquisition costs. And I did that in addition to with some screen recording software, so I could kind of see customer behavior on the site and see what they were attracted to. So that was actually an interesting resource. But yeah, no, I've used something similar pretty successfully. So yeah, no, I think it can work for a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I think the reason we're going this angle is partly it's good for our team because they're going to be being able to create content, be creative, have their own ideas without having to ask permission because it's our own side project. But what's cool is if we can build the audience, we can build the content, then I feel like the product itself that we offer has more credibility because we've now got a brand, we've got the content. So anyway, we'll probably come back and I'll have a chat with you when we're
Yeah,
at
sure.
that stage. Yeah, no, this is awesome. So look, you're sitting in this really nice chair, passively driving 300K revenue a month with one hire. That is
300 a year. I'm sorry, 300 a year.
yeah, sorry, yeah. I meant I knew a year. I said a month.
I probably wouldn't be sitting in this if it was 300 a month. Sorry, Neil. I'd be on the beach somewhere. So,
so tell us about, because you've got some other interesting business. Let's go into the one before we go into the new project that you're launching, because I know there's this whole plan around that. Let's get into the one where you invested and you're driving passive income just with that, because I think this is for me, like, I've invested in stocks, shares, crypto, and only in 3 years of being in business, I've been in business for 5 years now, full time. But I think after 3 years, I started to go, hold on, I don't need to spend all of this effort building my own business when actually there's other people just like me who are massively passionate about what they do. I could maybe invest in them. So I've actually had that thought for quite a long time. I've never really executed on it, but you clearly have. So tell us about it.
well, yeah, and I wouldn't call myself kind of a professional investor. It's something I aspired to do, at some point. But what happened was I owned an insurance agency. I won't say with who, but I just wasn't enjoying the experience. The attractive thing about insurance is, for those of you that are in it, is you sell the insurance, and as long as the customer stays with you, you get recurring revenue from every time they renew the insurance, and and usually it's for an extended period of time, and so it's an attractive business model. But I didn't enjoy actively kind of running that, and so I hired one of my employees. She was with me for all 6 years. She was my second hire. And my promise to her was, you can learn the business with me. And at some point when you're ready, you can start your own agency, and I'll help you do that through some capital and whatever support I did. And so when I decided to leave my insurance agency, I said, hey, let's do this. Let me help you start yours. I'll invest some money, for a minority stake. And and I made it clear that I wasn't going to take an active role. And so, it's been a couple years now, and so she's built up the book to a few $100,000, and so obviously, so then we're getting recurring commissions off of that. And so, it's not a big money maker but insurance, if you're familiar with it, is a long game. Like, it's really just building that book up over the time, and then slowly starting to increase the amount of commissions. But that's kind of the long and short of it.
That's interesting. Do you get paid, or is that just equity?
So right now, no. I mean, there's the book isn't quite big enough. So I mean, since she's doing all the active managing at this point, but the idea is either through an exit. We know that a typical insurance agency sells for about 1.5. The commission, the recurring commission. So that's one possible. I don't know if that's really kind of what she wants, or at some point, once it's generating enough commission, then I'll start to get some distributions from it. So
interesting. Okay, so I'm just writing this down. So you've invested in a friend's business. At the moment, there's no income, but essentially you're building up your equity. So if the business is turning over 500K a year, then 1.5 of 500K is 750K is what you could potentially sell that business for. Is my maths?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay. And then you would own a share of that.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to give us specifics, but for those that are thinking about this, what's the typical? Because I've got an idea, and I'll share that afterwards. Or actually, I'll share it now. So, what's the typical equity that you would take? And my idea is you wouldn't take too much, because you don't want to really turn the person running the business and make them feel like they're running it for you. You want them to feel like they're benefiting mostly. So there's finding the balance, right? There's giving them enough to get the business going, but then you're not going in there. Because I used to think like this before I used to run a business. I used to think, yeah, you know what? you need to be a dragon's den. You need to take, you know, if you can take 90% of the business, take 90% of the business, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
actually, that doesn't make sense, because ultimately that person's running the business. They need to be motivated more than you, and it needs to be fair, you know, at the end of the day. So what's a typical equity ownership that you would take in something like this?
I mean, I can share with you. I own less than 20% of the
Okay.
business.
Okay.
So um, it's, we were chatting about this before the call. I think, when when you're dealing with kind of like a tech startup, there's a lot of data that you can look at and kind of get some benchmarks. I think when you're dealing with small businesses, I think that's a little bit harder to do.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think the idea was she's running most of the day to day. We'll give her some salary, right? In addition to that, right? So let's give her the salary for her time, and then I didn't have to give a ton of money, so I didn't agree with want to take too much. But at the same time, you and I both know that money, cash is king, right? And so without that cash, it would have taken her a lot longer to get the thing off the ground.
Oh,
So I wanted to take something substantial. The other piece that kind of played into it is in the U.S., she was looking at some small business loans. And so in the U.S., if you get a loan through the Small Business Administration, anyone that has 20% or more has to personally guarantee it. And I knew I didn't want to personally guarantee loans, so that also helped the decision as well. So that was that played into it as well. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I do help out in other ways. I mean, being an insurance agent for a while, I also get a lot of people coming to me. So I drive a lot of leads to her just personally. So I mean, I add value in a lot of different ways. So
well, okay, so you still run that business?
no, I don't run it. I don't run it. So basically, if leads come to me, I basically hand it over to her. No. Yeah. So people just know me. When I was an insurance agent, so they'll come to me and say, "Hey, I'm looking for XYZ." And so when I do that, I just hand it over to her to
Got it. So you're essentially a lead source as well. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So look, investing in a friend's business or someone else's running the business. So look, those are two businesses you've just described, that basically are passive. And what I like about it is you've got the short-term drop shipping, bringing in revenue, paying for your kids, and putting food on your table. You've got this equity that's building up that almost can become this golden egg in the future, or pay for a really expensive trip away for the year. So where are you spending your time?
So I have a tech startup that it was probably the biggest driver why I left my insurance agency a couple years ago, so I could work on this full time. So it's called OnTrack, which is basically what we call a smart goal accountability platform. And what it is it's essentially a SMART goal content platform. So someone who is a subject matter expert or accountability partner can create these what we call SMART tracks, which is a step-by-step action plan to achieve a specific SMART goal. And so through our platform, they can share that with a user, and at some point they can monetize that content. And so let's say, you're Tony Robbins or you're Susie Orman. And so you've got Susie Orman has an action plan to pay off debt. She can create these SMART tracks. An end user can go and download that plan, and it actually gets scheduled out on their calendar, and they can actually share their progress back to an accountability partner. And so they can see, okay, here's what they should be doing, here's what they're not doing, and then they can kind of use that, either to coach them or provide some additional support for them. And so it's really a way to drive better outcomes for a specific goal. We looked at the science behind why people didn't achieve goals, and some of the biggest reasons why is they don't kind of use a SMART goal framework, something that's specific, something that's time-based. They don't kind of break that goal down into smaller pieces all the way down to specific action tasks. They don't track their progress, and they don't kind of use an accountability partner. So we basically reverse engineered that into a kind of a unique type of content that basically helps and walks them through that. And so the bigger vision is to create this marketplace of all these different action plans for basically a limitless number of goals. on the roadmap as well is to basically integrate with an unlimited number of data sources to then track that progress as well. So it could be, if you're trying to drink more water or, take 10,000 steps a day, we can also kind of connect with Apple Health or other things to actually automate that progress tracking and then share that progress back to a health coach, a life coach, or financial coach, whatever it might be.
That's really cool. Just thinking about, accountability in our team. And what do we use? We use projects, Asana, but I mean, it's very project plan based. But what you're talking about is something a bit more user friendly and actually focused on someone achieving a particular kind of larger goal and how they get there. So I see the power in this. Tell us about, like you mentioned, what caught my interest was being able to create this content, set all these goals up, and then you said being able to monetize that. How would someone monetize your platform?
So and we're in early beta stages, but the idea is to essentially create a Audible-like marketplace. So imagine, you're trying to achieve a goal. You've got a central repository of people, as subject matter experts that have created literally step-by-step action plans to achieve that specific goal. You can go and download it and then have that scheduled on your calendar and then follow that action plan and then share it back with either that author, or maybe you don't want to go with, maybe that author's maybe not available. Maybe you can share it with a family member, a friend, a spouse to say, hey, help me, achieve XYZ and hold me accountable. And you can share that progress with that other person, but basically kind of purchasing that action plan.
Okay. So people could sell experts could sell their specific action plan, and then got it. So that's like for them passively earning, and then
Correct. Yeah.
potentially that's a lead source. So if that person wants to
Correct.
take it up a notch and go, yeah, you know what, I really want to just work with this person on my issue, rather
Yes.
than self going through this. So okay, that sounds great. Now, in true style of this channel and show of how do you make money. So what's your goal, San, with this business? Because I'm assuming you're pre-revenue, so you're not earning
Correct.
anything at the moment. Okay, now give me your financial goals if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I definitely see this as a scalable business. I mean, to give you some scope, when you look at self-improvement content, so that you're looking at books, ebooks, audibles, webinars, people spend about $1.3 billion a year on that right now, and that's growing at a pretty good clip, right? So, for this to be VC backable, we really need to show a path to $100 million in revenue or more. And so I think that's obviously a big goal, but I think that's possible, right? And because I think we are unique. And in addition to that, I think we can kind of be complementary to some of those existing content mediums, right? So it could be, hey, I listened to this Audible. Okay, well, how do I actually apply that to my life? Well, there's a companion smart track that goes with that, where you can download that, you just listen to that Audible, and now you can actually have that action plan scheduled out for you. So that's really kind of, you don't have to think about it. It's already kind of laid out for you. So I think kind of in that 9-figure range is where we're really shooting for. Obviously that, that's a big goal, but I think the potential is there. Obviously now it's about execution, but I think that's where we'd like to get with this.
Got it. Okay, so some big plans. Tell us about pricing. So how does the pricing work for On Track?
Yeah, so our initial market is kind of coaches, right? And so it's a subscription based and ranging, we have a free version, a free tier, and then kind of next tiers up are between 30 and 60 per month. We've actually proactively had a few what I'll call enterprise type use cases. So really large organizations that want to use it across a large organization. And that would be kind of on a per user basis, right? And so one of the organizations has 7,000 people in it, right? Wow. So it doesn't take a lot to then, even if it's a couple dollars a month per user, that turns into a big number very quickly.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that. We're starting with the coaches, but given the fact that we've got some enterprise use cases, that's another market that I think we can pursue. There's a lot of different use cases I think this works for. It's really just picking the one that we think we can get traction in the quickest to show proof of concept.
Okay, and before I ask you what your marketing strategy is for this, did you use any of your drop shipping skills in the sense of testing the market, seeing if they're willing to pay, driving ads? Like, tell me how you validated the actual product and the price.
Yeah, so I think I made a mistake there, but I did validate the product. So I basically created a landing page. So I had a clickable prototype made up, and I used that to build out a landing page. And then I used Google Ads initially. Didn't work out as well, but I used Facebook ads, and I tested about 25 to 30 different Facebook audiences. And I found a couple that worked really well. And as I told you, they converted about 20% or higher. And then my conversion cost was ranged from about $4 to $7 a lead, which wasn't bad. And then as I mentioned to you, I then took that and also did some screen recordings to kind of look at, okay, what were people interested in as well. And so that gave me the conversion rate and the customer acquisition cost gave me a lot of confidence that there was a market here. I ended up generating about 400 people to like a wait list to beta test.
Wow. And
the product.
How do you know they're willing to pay $30 to $60?
Well, to be fair, hold on one second. We actually pivoted in the middle. When I first tested this out, it was a B2C product. Mm-hmm. And from the early beta testers, I said, hey, this is interesting, but I don't see the content that I want. During that validation process, we had some coaches come to us and say, hey, this is something we'd like to use with our customers. And so that's when we kind of pivoted and then focused on these accountability partners as opposed to business consumer. Once we get a library of content, I think we can go back to consumers and actually sell them, the smart tracks. But so we did not validate the pricing, which I should have. But even that, I think, we did a pivot during that period where we kind of shifted our market from we shifted business model from B2C to what I'll call B2B2C. Sorry, that's my puppy. So we did not validate pricing. I wish I had during that process. So that was one area that I think a true like lean startup beta test would have been, or a smoke test would have been basically a page, almost like an e-commerce page where they actually think they're buying or signing up and validating that pricing, which I did not do, which I think would have been more powerful.
I've not heard that word, smoke test, that phrase.
Yeah, I think that's straight from. Sorry,
I used to use that in project management days. So as soon as you said that, I haven't used that word in 5 or 6 years. So as soon as you said it just brought back memories of.
Yeah, I think Eric Reeves actually uses that term. I think it's a little bit different from how you're used to using it, but he calls it a smoke test in lean startup, where it's basically you're for lack of a better term, tricking the customer into thinking the product is live, and actually getting them to pay for it. You don't actually take their money, but they think they're paying for it. That's like really true validation.
Understood. Yeah, that makes sense. And what do you use for screen recording, by the way? You mentioned recording the users.
Yeah, I used it. It was called Hum Commerce, but there's another one called Hotjar that you can use as well. Yeah. They basically do the same thing.
And you use that every time you're testing something?
I won't say I use it every time, but the times I've used it, it's been really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'm making a mental note of that for when you put.
Yeah. What was really interesting is I had all the screenshots on a slider, right? It was a sliding tool. And so what was really interesting is some of the screen recordings, I could see people on the slider going back and forth different screens, and you could see what screens they were spending the most time on. And like that was super interesting to me. So you gotta, you can make some hypothesis as far as, okay, why are they interested in that screen?
Yeah.
The other thing I'll share with you that was helpful was through Facebook, by testing out these different audiences and their interests, like it gave me insights into who the potential target market could be. And so that I found that to be helpful as well. So it was kind of a sidebar.
How much did you spend on ads, part of your testing?
It was like a couple K. I probably didn't need to spend that much, but I wanted to build that beta list out as big as I
I
could.
mean, that doesn't sound huge at all, because
Yeah.
what you've just gone and done is you've educated yourself. You've probably avoided a bunch of mistakes targeting the wrong customer. You're a lot more savvy, right, in terms of what you're building out.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing OnTrack's website and the platform is not cheap, right? So
Yeah.
if you can kind of do some initial learnings and bake that into the product
Yeah.
as earlier on as possible to increase the chances of success, a couple of K is very, very
Oh
good.
no, I thousand, a million% agree with that. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
awesome.
Yeah.
But tell us about the marketing strategy. How are you gonna when are you launching?
So we're actually launching probably in the next week or so,
Okay.
an early version, but with the idea that we're going to continuously innovate on it. But we want to just get it out there to start monetizing. One to get some early traction, because we do want to raise money, and traction helps a ton, having done it in the past. So early on, we want to work through partnerships. So there's associations like the International Coaching Federation. We've actually talked to them, and leveraging them. I think we're also going to work with some kind of micro influencers as well. Some folks that have a lot of that coaches, for instance, that we've talked to. So we want to leverage that to get our early traction, as opposed to kind of some paid media. I mean, we're a lean startup, so we want to kind of do things as organically as possible without kind of de-risking it. Paid advertising is always a risk attached to it, right? So we want to focus on kind of performance-based channels where we're only paying if we're getting a sale from it.
Got it. So you've basically gone out to the association and the influencers, and essentially offering a commission on performance. So you're not
Yeah.
paying anything up front. You're going, this is unique. This smashes your audience
Mm-hmm.
in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them become more productive. It allows you to coach them to a whole new level. So it just integrates in what you're doing, and it just makes sense, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Your customers are going to love it. It doesn't cost a huge amount.
Yeah.
We'll pay you, by the way, for every
Yeah.
time you promote it. Why not?
And we actually bake that into our pricing. So what you'll see in our public pricing accounts for that partnership, kind of marketing is going to be a big part of what we're going to be doing. So we actually calculate that in to what we're offering.
So the coaches, so let's just say you come out to me, I'm a partner, and then I promote it to my people. Am I paying the monthly fee to be? I guess I'm not. I'm guessing I'm not. I'm essentially just promoting your product and making a commission if they sign up.
I'm sorry, ask that question one more time. So
Sorry, I probably could have worded that better. But
yeah.
So who's paying for the product? Is the coaches and the coaches of the coaches paying? Are they both paying?
Oh yeah. So sorry, I might have confused you a little bit. So the main person that's paying is the coach. And so let's say a coach is working with 25 clients. So the coach would pay for access to our platform and then use that platform with their clients. If it's an influencer, if we're working with a micro influencer, they'll promote it to their end users. If they have coaches amongst their audience, the coaches would actually pay for it, and then we would pay that influencer a commission for every sale.
Understood. Okay, so it's the bit when you spoke about influencer, that's where my mind went.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, no, my mistake. So okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that sounds super interesting. Is it capped at the number of users? So if a coach has 50 people?
Yeah, so we have tiers based on the number of users, correct? Yeah.
Got it, and that's where the pricing model. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
correct.
Now I understand the product. This sounds super scalable. So your aim is to get it to 9 figures, $100 million
Yeah.
in revenue. How are you going to get there? What's your marketing strategy?
Well, it's funny
On
what I've
top of
learned
the
from
partnerships and influencers.
yeah, I was gonna say I think what I've learned with startups is I've gotten myself in trouble when I've thought too far ahead, and so I think what we're focused on is getting this early market, and learning as much as we can. I think from there, as I mentioned, I see use cases in healthcare, I see use cases in HR, I see use cases in medical use cases. And so I think from there, I think we're going to have to take our early learnings and test these other markets out. But if we go after those enterprise uses, I think it'll be more of kind of more of an enterprise sales strategy that we'll have to go after. So, but again, I think I'm really more laser focused on kind of this early go-to-market strategy, with kind of an eye to some of the other things we'll do in the future. But for now, I think we're more laser focused on, okay, let's get some early traction, learn from that, and then from there, kind of iterate based on what we see, where we see the traction. That I've made some mistakes in the past about creating these long-term plans, and it's just like nothing ever goes according to plan. So that's why I have, I don't necessarily want to focus too much on that, but we do see some enterprise users, in which case it would be more of an enterprise sales play, I think.
Okay. Is SEO part of the game?
It always is. We actually did some early blogging just to kind of get but yeah, 1,000%. We do want some content marketing. Yeah,
especially for that space, right? You got accountability, productivity.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's like organic all over. Okay, amazing. I love this. So San, I'm going to show you this Picasso in a second. But before I do, you've been in business for how many years now?
About 15.
15.
Yeah.
So, for those entrepreneurs, those budding entrepreneurs who want to get started or take what they're doing to a whole new level, can you share one tip to help them achieve that?
Well, we've touched on it. If they haven't read Lean Startup by Eric Ries, I definitely recommend that. And so I'll summarize it. Candidly, it's like a lot of books I read. Like once you read the first third or half, you don't really need it ends up just repeating itself. But ultimately, it's this: is when you have ideas, find ways to kind of validate. And so doing some of the keyword research and some of those other things are great ways to do it. But find ways to get something out there as quickly as possible. Whether it's a landing page, whether it's a really easy, quick and easy e-commerce site, get it out there as soon as possible. Validate it, get some, whether it's Facebook ads or Google ads, just get traffic to it as quickly as possible, and use the tools that we talked about, whether it's Google Analytics or screen recording tools. Learn as much as you can, because what I found is what you go to market with is typically not what you have in the market 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Right. So don't spend too much time, try and do things as quickly and cheaply as possible, learn what you can from it, iterate. And then at some point, you get to the point where, you're looking for what people call product market fit, where people are coming to you because of word of mouth, because you've solved a need for them in a way that no one else has, because you've done it organically. You've done it by learning and listening to the customer and iterating on your product based on that feedback. And at some point you get a product that's it just fits that market's needs so well, because it's built organically based on learning and feedback.
Yeah, I love that. I've been in business just coming up to 5 years, and we were talking just before the interview. We're just about to launch a new product, which we're spinning out of our existing agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have never thought we would have gone down this route. And to be honest, 2 years ago, I thought about this new product, which is the copywriting on demand service called Rightfully. And I kind of dismissed it 2 years ago. It was at the back of my mind. And it's because I never really got it. And it never really felt authentic. And it was only working with clients for 4 years
Mm-hmm.
that I fully understood what it is they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to sound really weird. I could have launched the same thing 2 years ago, We're about to launch it in a few months, depending on when this recording goes live. But yeah, it's weird. It wouldn't, you know, on the face of it, it's the same service, but the thinking that we have behind the scenes, the process, the procedure, how we're going to do it, what customers care about, you know, it's totally different, because I was still new to the problem 2 years ago, and I
Sure.
now fully understand it. So yeah, I love that advice. I think that's
Well,
a really good one.
well, in some sense, I would argue that what you've been doing has been your minimal viable, what Eric
Yeah,
Ries calls
yeah,
your
you're
minimal
right.
viable
You're right.
product. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you're
so
right.
you've been iterating based on that. So in some ways, you've been doing that. You
Yeah,
know, now what you could do is maybe a little bit something more concrete as far as a specific, you know,
yeah,
SaaS type of product. But yeah, no, I would argue that you've been building out your MVP for the last
yes,
couple of years.
yes, you're right. And actually, that reminds me. Before we still use this to run it, but we're not even live yet with this new product. But we've been running it from a spreadsheet. So whenever we have a client that goes, "Hey, I need some content, I need some help with this, I need my problem solved,"
Yeah.
I go to my spreadsheet, work out the numbers, and go, "I've just looked at my calculator, and here's how much it's going to cost." So we've been running the business using
Yeah.
Gmail, a spreadsheet, and invoicing. So you're absolutely right in
Now
this.
you're just automating all those pieces. I
Yeah,
mean, if you
yeah,
read
yeah,
Lead Startup, that's he gives an example very similar to that. That
yeah.
basically they did it all manually until they figured out what their needs are, and then you just basically take that, and now you know exactly what to build. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let me show you this, because I know you need to run very soon. So this is how Xan Hong. Sam, can you see my screen?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So this is how Xan Hong, let's make this bigger, makes money today. So we have multiple revenue streams. So San has a drop shipping e-commerce. He runs 2 sites and also helps support 2 other entrepreneurs with their drop shipping site. Basically, create a website, sell a product that solves a problem, and that is revenue passively. It's not passive on day one, but it is passive over time as you get, you know, your integrations, your automations using Zapier. I know San's a
Yeah.
big fan of
Yes.
Zapier. You know, and he hires a full-time virtual assistant who runs that business. How he drives those customers is SEO. Once he's proven the product, he has affiliate networks. He runs Google ads, Bing ads, FB retargeting, and email marketing as he's grown the list to drive online purchases. We never went, I know we need to wrap this up really quickly, but one thing I never came back to was the affiliate networks. In one line, San, if someone like me or anyone that's listening to this is interested in getting affiliate networks to sell their products, where do they start?
Well, so I mean, I can tell you that in Shopify, what I use for my e-commerce, there's 2 products I use. I use Reversion and GoAff Pro. And what's nice about those is they have their own built-in affiliate networks. And so once I sign up, I get listed on their marketplace. And so I've gotten most of them organic. I actually have never promoted my affiliate product program. I had some people reach out through Instagram and ask me now that we're bigger, but I actually have never promoted it. A lot of them have just come organically through different channels.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
but those I chose those because they have their own built-in network of affiliate marketers.
Got it. So you heard that here. Find affiliate networks in your marketplace. Shopify has its own. Depending on where you are, find affiliate networks. It could be as easy as signing up to it and suddenly you're in every single, you're being promoted without you having to do any work. So that's San's dropshipping business. Again, spends very little time in there. San also had a good relationship with a previous employee who he supported to launch their own insurance agency, put in some cash to help that business get, you know, off its feet, and in return takes an equity stake of less than 20%, which means he can send leads and benefit from that, and also support that business because he's got so much experience. That's all, you know, that's hands off. He doesn't make any income, but what he does make is he builds up the equity of that business, that if it exits one day, then he makes a load of cash. Or if it decides to take some distributions, in other words, dividend checks on a yearly basis, then I'm sure San has some sort of agreement there as well. And then lastly, San is spending all of his time, because you know, he's got these businesses basically making money for him. And so the Xan focuses all of his time on his passion, which is On Track. It's a smart goal accountability platform. Go check it out at ontrack dot, what is it, Xan?
Well, we actually just switched it over. So it's startontrack.com. So it's startontrac.com is a new one. But if you go to ontrac.app, it actually redirects to that site. So
and honestly, I've been accountability coaching people, you know, one way, and then I've also been on the receiving end. And accountability is probably the number one thing that stops people from progressing. So if you're struggling with accountability, go check this out. I'll add all the links to the notes below as well, so you can find it. Xan has big goals with this. He's going to start with partnerships and influencer marketing. I think that's super smart. We're actually going to start with partnerships as well. Influencer marketing, you've planted a seed in my head, so I'm going to look into that. But we're also taking your approach. I think it's really clever. Is not overthinking it, launching something good enough, and just learning from your audience and going, rather than, you know, where is their customers who could use this, actually thinking about particular use cases and targeting those use cases or scenarios, as I like to talk about it. You also talk about an enterprise sales strategy, which is often cold emailing, maybe cold calling, building relationships with enterprise customers and decision makers, and that's a long game, right? And then SEO is integrating everything Xan does, as am I, as I love SEO and run an SEO agency, and that's all about creating the right type of content. And I added in here as a sales strategy, given that you've got a free sign up for On Track, you're probably going to be doing free sign up and then introducing them to the paid product, right?
Yeah, and then having some sort of onboarding process where we're trying to convert those free signups into paid signups. Yeah, correct.
Got it. Any changes you would make here?
No, I think that's a pretty good overview. You know, a year from now might, like, you know, especially On Track might look different, but I think for where we are right now, I think that's a fairly accurate picture.
Love that. Maybe in a year's down we could do a recap and see where
that would be awesome.
Well, the strategy is. So look, Xan, thank you so much for spending your time here. I love the business. I love what On Track's doing. You know, I'm going to be watching keenly on the progress, and I'm sure you'll be smashing all of your goals, given that you are an accountability platform. So where can people find you?
You can you can find me on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, if you just search, my full name is Leexan, last name is Hong, Hong. So if you search me on there, that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. And if you go to our website, we have a few social media channels on there. So you know, I definitely am communicating with through those channels as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Xan. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Happy to chat again, and we can connect and chat about some of those other topics as well. But I appreciate you inviting me.
Amazing. Thanks.
All right. See you.